Welcome to the all-new Marvel Roundup, the Southgate Media Group's guide to the Marvel Comics of the Week, a proud part of the Nuff Said podcast. As always, I am Phil Parrish, and joining me is...
Charlie Esser!
Alright, I will start us off this week. I guess I will go to Power Man and Iron Fist number 9. Smack in the middle of Civil War II.
Yeah. See, this was very interesting to me because this I did read this because it made the buy pile on Comic Book Resources. Basically, the guy who read this basically said this like answers everything on Civil War. I was not that impressed by it, though. I did like the final scene.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I liked it. Yeah, I agree. It doesn't answer everything. You know, it's not the answer to Civil War, but well, basically, it's Carol Danvers and the group she brought in to keep Luke and his group from breaking Danny Rand out of prison. It's mostly just like you do get some philosophical issues with Civil War, but it's mostly to punch him up. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, it's a big punch him up, and honestly, just walking in on this because I haven't been reading the Power Man books and not this storyline, it just really just like. Where the heck am I? Why is Carol throwing Power Man through the prison? It's like, okay, that doesn't seem, it seemed like another episode where they're really handling Carol so poorly and so out of character from what you see in any of the books where they're actually dealing with Carol intelligently, So that bugged me. But I did like what we get at the very end, like I said.
But I mean, it's all she did. She got a Ulysses vision that Luke Cage was going to stage this breakout. Yeah, I don't understand why she threw him through the prison wall either. But
yeah, I mean, it just seems like, well, we want to break out of prison here. Let me help you out. And it's like, shouldn't these characters be doing? I mean, yes, I get it's not as visually stunning, but like, shouldn't she be doing like a submission hold on him? Just putting him in like a nice little headlock and. Giving him nuggies or something. I'm just, it seems weird that like her answer is throw him through a brick wall.
Mm-hmm. But what did you like that last part with Luke and Danny just sitting there talking?
Yeah, well, exactly, and he does make this point of, maybe I was going to do that. Maybe I actually was going to break out. And yeah, things got more chaotic because they tried to stop me. But then again, if I had done it, maybe this all would have happened just like they said,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's basically a situation where you're danged if you do and you're danged if you don't, and what I'm sure the Carol argument is, which didn't get any shrift here, because of course before that he's like, I wasn't going to do anything. You can't say I'm going to do stuff when I haven't done it yet. And then when he's actually having an honest moment with Denny, he's like, yeah, I was totally going to do it. I was totally going to do exactly what they said, which is kind of cool and does make for a nice bit on there. But, I kind of felt like it was just, and again, it goes into this thing that, if people just sort of worked with Carol on this stuff, they could probably sort out what was going to go wrong. Instead of everyone saying, you can't say I'm this, I'm going to fight you. Punch, punch, punch.
Yeah, but do you think Luke is sensitive just because he's been imprisoned before for a crime he didn't commit?
Yeah, I mean, you can make that argument, except of course he's it's one of these weird things. It's like he's sensitive to the idea of going to, and here's what I'm going to say about the Civil War construct in general, because you have this basic conundrum. Carol says, this is knowledge that exists. If I don't try to stay on top of this and control it, it's going to be used much worse by other people.
Mm-hmm.
But then we also see how people are, even with Carol on top of it, using it much worse,
Yeah.
So you do have this other counterbalance to it. Like, you basically have what you can call it's the atomic genie conundrum. Once we've unleashed the genie of the atomic bomb, you can't put that back in the bottle. And the reality is that, Ulysses exists.
Mm-hmm.
And someone's going to do it, and someone's going to do it worse than Carol is. But is Carol, in going along with it, really, really solve? You can even put it into a better political construct than when you think about modern discussions of politics and whether or not you should, vote for, the parties that are in, or the party, or do the protest votes, or what have you. Um, and it is this idea that yes, you can make incremental change within the system, or you can try to upset the system. But upsetting the system will certainly have a negative outcome. But at the same time, working within the system just leads to further corruption as well. So it's like there's no easy or right answer. It's everything is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take on Civil War II.
Yeah, I agree, and it's. I mean, I agree with you on like some of the characterizations, especially on Carol or Way, I think are off in this. But for the most part, I did enjoy this issue. It gets a thumbs up for me.
Oh yeah, well, it's a great punch 'em up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a great punch 'em up, and then it gives you some nice political thought. And what I really liked about it is the idea that in that final panel you get this complete 360, or so not 360, 180 on the premise, because the whole time you're thinking, oh, Carol's unreasonable. Carol's a big old scolding lady who's making us feel like, stupid lady. I don't like ladies telling us what to do. And then at the very end, you get Luke saying, well, then again, So I really like that as well. So yeah. I thought it was. I'm certain it was a much better book if you had been reading Luke Cage or Power Man and Iron Fist. Jumping into it just right now was just a little awkward for me because I just didn't have the groundwork to build on it, but I still followed along. So
yeah, and I think this book is good, but I think I think this issue, if it suffered from anything, I think it's that thing where you have a good story going in a book, and then you're kind of forced into going into a one of these company-wide events.
Yeah, that can be a problem.
All right, well then I'll go to next. Moon Knight number 7. You said you read some of this?
Yeah, I read almost none of it. I mean, I got the basic idea that he's fighting werewolves on the moon, and then he's in the taxi cab, and it's like blended realities. But honestly, I could not follow it, and I was pretty exhausted at work today, so it's like I couldn't even really read it. It was too much, and again, it was one of these situations where jumping in with both feet, not having previously read the series, it was too much.
Yeah, this would be a weird one to jump in. The first one to jump in on. Like I like this issue with a thumbs up, but yeah, they really haven't explained what's going on yet. But I'm pretty sure it's Mark Spector's multiple personalities or whatever you want to call them fighting because remember Khonshu's trying to take his body, so I'm assuming. Yeah. Although they haven't said so yet, that it's the various parts of his mind fighting against it.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, but I mean it's it's a very out there Moon Knight story. It's not like your typical Moon Knight story. Like you said, it's him and Frenchie fighting werewolves on the moon.
Well, especially since he's never fought werewolves on the moon before. Yeah. That is a completely new wrinkle in the Moon Knight mythos.
Yeah, it just showed up on the last couple pages of the last issue. Yeah, it's like I'm assuming his mind's just like creating or I don't know if it's Khonshu or his mind is just creating these situations and to help him defend.
He's finding places to hide in his mind from Khonshu. The crazier, the better.
Yeah, and then we got a little bit of the whole Jake Lockley thing, but yeah, that's about it. It's like I said, I give this one a thumbs up, but on its own, I don't know. I'm just like it's okay. Read as a whole, like I would say, if you haven't got the issues yet, like wait till the trade paperback and read it all at once, and it's probably gonna be a much better story.
Mm-hmm.
That's just I like the Moon Knight book, but that's just what gets me these days. It's just like month to month. Sometimes it's hard because they write for the trades now, so it's just like these pieces of a whole.
I feel ya.
But
yeah. I mean, Yeah, it's some books do it better than others, and I think some books they just are in that spot where they have to jump in both feet. They can't do a full recap on what's going on. It's like, okay, look, just here's where we're at, and you're coming in the middle of the action sequence. But hopefully it's visually stunning enough, which I did think both of these books had some real visual nice looks, that really it's going to make you want to stick around for the next book. Okay, so was that a thumbs up?
Yes, thumbs up.
Okay, and that brings me to my first book. Man, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to say this is my pick of the week. I'm just going to open up with the pick of the week. Great Lakes Avengers #1. And this was hard, and here's what I'm going to tell you. Great Lakes Avengers #1 gets a big boost to be my pick of the week because it's centered in Detroit. On the very cover, they have them at Detroit Coney Island Diner, which is, I mean, we don't have diners in Michigan. We have Coney Islands. And so that's like this whole thing to me, like, oh, they actually did like 5 seconds of research. I'm hoping they get some Faygo in here at some point. It's a great thing. We open up with Connie Ferrari at Ferrari and Hendel Associates in New York.
Connie Ferrari, all right.
Yeah, well, she's still hung up on someone in this, we find out, because, of course, she has her date, and she's talking to her assistant. She says, well, it's my, the guy I met at my book club. Okay, not really. It's a guy I met at the gym. No, honestly, it's a guy I just swiped right on. The first guy who looked like Steve Rogers that I swiped right on. And then her secretary says here when she sees what the case is that she's been given by the Avengers last minute, she says, okay, Amy, cancel my date. And she says, how can you tell he looks like Steve Rogers from these? And he says, trust me, I never forget a Rogers. But I'm bummed. Okay. We wind up with the Flat Man living in squalor in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, playing online video games. There's a knock at the door. It's Connie and Amy. And they basically are trying to buy the rights to the Avengers name because, as it turns out, he was the only person by sheer dumb luck to actually try to register a trademark on Avengers after Tony Stark lost it. So they have to get it back from him. And they're offering him like millions of dollars. But, of course, he says, I just want what's in her briefcase. And they give it to him. And now the Great Lakes Avengers are officially a official Avengers franchise. They're giving them a base in Detroit. He sends out a email to the rest of the team. Big Bertha shows up, and very interesting. Big Bertha is now officially a plus-sized model, formerly known as Ashley Crawford. Still looking hot, and of course, Big Bertha's power, she can, increase her mass at will. Which also gives her some level of superhuman strength, and of course the sitting on people power that fat people like Wilson Fisk and Mariah Dillard have in the Marvel universe. Flatman saying he sent a text out to everybody, including Squirrel Girl, and I see Squirrel Girl with Miles and Thor and Sam Wilson Cap at a restaurant. And Cap saying, I thought I heard something. And he says, nope, can't hear a thing over the taste of this delicious shrimp. Flatman was still waiting to hear back. And then Doorman arrives. Doorman, who has been serving as sort of the angel of death for Oblivion. He's a little out of touch because he's been in the dark dimension so long. And then we cut to Detroit, Michigan, where we see a young girl doodling on her computer, creating a cartoon wolf character. Her brother says he liked him better with the vest. And then all of a sudden, the villains show up and says, "Panic in Detroit, booyah, ha ha ha!" as he blows stuff up. The girl's brother Lucky, he's not here, so we're worried, and. The guy, you see across the street a woman with a lamp threatening to hit the supervillain. And he says, "Pitch, please," because I'm pitchforking it. I've got pitchfork hands. Um, that's the joke. And then, of course, the girl from the first scene shows up, says, "You take one more step and you're going to regret it." And he says, "Haha, is that so? What are you going to do?" And he goes, "Fork me." And she turns into this giant werewolf creature, which we're apparently calling Good Boy. Meanwhile, in Flatman's RV, they're driving to Detroit. And they're talking about how they can't get in touch with Mr. Immortal. And, apparently Mr. Immortal and Bertha had a relationship that ended poorly as Mr. Immortal went off to save one life at a time. They get to Detroit, and there's a very cute bit. If you're from Detroit, you get this where Doorman is saying, "It's like somebody drew an invisible line around the sad part of town. It's like, I'm poor, now I'm rich. Poor, rich, poor, rich."
Yeah.
And honestly, if you've ever been to Detroit, it is just like that, where there are parts where it's like, "Oh, well, this is actually a really nice town." And then all of a sudden, boom, bombed out buildings. It's crazy. And our villains realize we got Firebrand, aka Erickson Hades, and Shrike, Francis Barrison. They have a cute little thing about whether or not it's paper, rock, and scissors or rock, paper, scissors. They go to their Avengers mansion, which is kind of a rundown old Stark plant with graffiti on the walls. Bertha smashes through the gate, and they meet Pansy, who's this newest member of the team, who is this little goth girl who apparently has Mr. Immortal's old phone number. And she says she doesn't like to assume things. That's why she showed up, because he said, but it was clearly for Mr. Immortal. Why did you respond? This is why I don't like to assume things. So she's going to be fun. I know that. Then we find out where Mr. Immortal is. By the way, the villains were upset that superheroes apparently have moved in across the street from their locale. Mr. Immortal is apparently buried in a coffin with some sort of a pipe sticking through the coffin. Says, and he says, "We'll file this under things I regret. Mr. Immortal, a.k.a. Greg Hollis. To be continued." Next week, we see Good Boy, Flatman, Big Bertha, and Doorman all under arrest from the Detroit Police Department. Like I said, it's a fun book. It's, for me as a Midwesterner, I love that the Great Lake Avengers are back. I've always loved the Great Lakes Avengers. I've always, and it's this real reality that, man, parts of this country did not have superheroes. If you were a supervillain, wouldn't you move out of New York?
Exactly.
And so here we're going to find out that, yeah, there are supervillains out there, but just no heroes have been watching them. And they've been, sort of running a little roughshod over the world. So big thumbs up on this book. Loved it very much. My pick of the week, Great Lake Avengers. Yeah, I said so. I said it at the beginning.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, then I guess I will jump to Old Man Logan, number 12. Basically flip-flops back and forth between the present and Old Man Logan's future, with him versus the Silent Order, and we get this the Silent Monk, who's like a boy in the present, and then of course he's older in the future, but he gets visions of, he says he sees Logan killing him in the Silent Order, but that was Logan's future, and I think we've come to see that's not the future of this timeline. So Charlie, do you think the Silent Monk is kind of like Ulysses? He sees probabilities.
Well, it's interesting because what we've seen from this universe is that whatever it was that happened in Logan's universe didn't happen here.
Mm-hmm.
There was no acts of vengeance too, as it were. Um, Although with what we're seeing with the Red Skull, maybe we are leading towards that. So maybe that is going to be coming up maybe after Death of X, or Avengers, or the X and Humans plotline. Maybe we are going to get to that acts of vengeance idea, but we're going to have to see what happens. I think that what we're seeing with this is that, yes, he is seeing a future, and a future that he's connected to, and perhaps even a future that he's connected to expressly because that Logan came back, So it's like the universe may be muddled because you have this cross time, because the universe was put back together. So he, the Silent Order may not have even existed in this universe until Franklin put the world back together wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I was just like, okay, it's not his. They said this, this past isn't his exact past, but the silent monk saw Logan kill them all later on, and it's just interesting. And then we see in the future when Maureen tells Logan that she's pregnant. I found that part interesting when he was like, I never wanted you to see that part of myself, the killer.
Well, we know where they go to settle next.
Yes, we do.
Not probably the best. Honestly, I think they might have been smarter just to stay in freaking, Japan with the ninjas.
Yeah, why not? I mean, he killed them all. Logan probably could have rolled there. But I mean, there really wasn't much else. I mean, in the present, Deathstrike helps Logan, I guess, knock out he gets the silent monk, and he tells the others to stand down, and he, puts his fist next to his head. It's like, okay, let us go, or I'm popping the claws. But yeah, it's just interesting. I'm wondering where they're gonna go with Old Man Logan next. If they're just if they're gonna keep going with the next arc. If they're gonna compare the show where like this one we got the Silent Order, and they're comparing them in the present and the future. If they're gonna keep doing that, or if they're gonna keep going straight to the present now.
Well, I gotta think that flipping back and forth to, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. Like, and this is one of these things that I've said. In the first Old Man Logan series, it wasn't immediately clear that his wife knew he was Logan.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't know he was Wolverine, or it didn't. They may not have stated that she didn't know, but I don't think they ever stated that she did know.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, once again, is that a Franklin tweak?
Yeah. Well, what I'm wondering is, so when you have these characters out of time, so you have your young Cyclops, your young Beast, all these guys out of time. How are these people outside of the mix affecting the reality that they're in? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe what we're going to start seeing is that Logan's memories of the future start to change or alter, or in some other way not be what he thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
Where one minute he's thinking, oh yeah, well that was it, and then he's like, well wait, how can I remember that and this? Like, how can I remember, not for nothing, how can I remember X-23 and Gabby when in my previous timeline, I don't even know if they existed at that point,
mm-hmm.
let alone that I had any kind of relationship with them. It's an interesting question there, and it's going to be interesting to see where they go with it. One can see how they have the choice now to really unravel a lot of the ideas of space and time in the future and the past. Whether or not they opt for that is what we're gonna have to go see.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, it was a thumbs up for me. Like I said, I'm intrigued to see I'm assuming next issue is part 5, and what could be the last one.
Well, for what it's worth, I'll still say this: it has some of the most aesthetically beautiful artwork you're ever
yeah.
I mean, it's just really fantastic stuff.
I mean, it looks like, I don't know how they do this. It looks like a painting.
Yeah. Well, it's because that's a guy painting it.
No, oh yeah, but I mean, just going to the
Yeah.
printed page, it can lose something, but it doesn't. But yeah,
Yeah. It's really beautiful.
yeah. But thumbs up, and then the next one I'll go to Deadpool number 20. This was a good one.
A very special episode of
Yeah,
Deadpool.
I liked it. I mean, it's a standalone, so if anyone's looking for a standalone Deadpool, get this. I mean, this probably came close to my pick of the week.
Yeah, I mean, it was real close for me. Honestly, here's what I'll tell you. I mean, the only reason why Great Lakes Avengers really is my pick of the week is because it's set in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And because so I'm just like, Detroit for me is like Pittsburgh for Jim Shooter. It's where we're from. It's our home. It's how we identify who we are. And so when we get to give a shout out to it, that automatically elevates everything. And beyond that, it was a nice book too. But I mean, there was a lot of really good books this week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was really like a great week for like my specific type of nerdery, and Deadpool was right up there at the top with it too.
Yeah. Like I said, it was a standalone, and it starts with him finding a teenage girl standing on the roof of the the bombed out theater. She's thinking about jumping and committing suicide, and
I thought she was a teenager.
What? I don't know. Do you think?
I thought she was like probably in like her 20s. I don't know.
Maybe.
I didn't see her as a teenager, but that's me.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
Either teens or 20s. That's
yeah.
But,
she's a millennial.
But I was just giggling the whole time every time he called her Danielle, because that's my wife's name. So.
Yeah, well, I my favorite part is when after they go see the movie, because he's like telling her to go to Parker Industries to jump off, and she's like, "Yeah, take me to the Parker Industries observation tower."
No, it wasn't a movie. It wasn't a movie. I think they went. Is that Hamilton? They went.
They went to see Hamilton. They went to see Hamilton. Yeah,
because she's like, tickets are so expensive.
Yes, that's okay. I know someone who has tickets. I didn't say he'd give them to us, but I knew someone who had tickets.
He basically hinted around that he beat up some slumlords.
They show the old man and the old lady that he beat up. Basically, he beat up the Waynes. Didn't kill them though. Just beat them the heck up. Yeah.
Yeah, but then where's he take her?
Well, then he goes and he basically said, because they say, what you're going to say, violence isn't the answer, and he says, no, violence is always the answer if you're good enough at it. And is it just? Are you starting to hear Deadpool with Ryan Reynolds' voice?
Yeah, especially this issue. I could really see a lot of the movie Deadpool in Deadpool this issue.
It was, I mean, which is, I think, it's a strong selling point to it, quite frankly.
Oh, yeah.
I always find it interesting is, how I hear characters' voice. Like, for example, interesting enough, I don't hear D'Onofrio's voice when I read the Kingpin. I still hear the voice of the guy who did the Kingpin in the old Spider-Man cartoon. Mm-hmm. Which is a much more, regal voice, blah, 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 blah. Which I think D'Onofrio tries to get, but D'Onofrio gets a little more... He's a little more halting in the way he speaks, whereas I always see Wilson Fisk as being much more similar to the way I imagine Lex Luthor speaking, which is just that very much more self-assured, and forceful. But for this, I'm definitely hearing Ryan Reynolds, and
oh yeah, the whole thing with him and the girl, it reminded me of like the beginning of the Deadpool movie, when they showed him help, taking care of that creepy stalker or whoever for that girl in the beginning of the movie. Yeah, I definitely heard his voice in this.
Yeah. And what I really liked about this, so they go and they beat up some people, because apparently, Deadpool says, we get these letters every day from various people for all of the things. And the ones that I really like, I keep as my little, blowing off steam, people I can beat up for free, packs. But what I liked about it is that through it all, at the end, what he actually does is he does take her to the ER.
Yes.
which is actually, that it was a really, like I said, it was a very special episode of Deadpool, but it was a very realistic one
Mm-hmm.
in, ways you can deal with suicidal people. And quite frankly, what you do with a suicidal person is you take them to the ER. You take them to professionals who can help them. They did. It was nice if you read the back letters page. There's a nice bit about, the National Suicide Hotline, which
Mm-hmm.
actually that actually connects you here in New York City to LifeNet, where my wife used to work. So um, one of the many contracts they got through the city of New York. Uh, but yeah, so it's always one of those things. Whenever I see the suicide hotline, I think, oh yeah, man, that's where my wife used to work. Anyway, yeah, but it was a really good issue. It was a really good issue.
Oh yeah.
Fun, humor, action, adventure, but as well, as the writer said, that funny, sad stuff that's his sweet spot, and I think he really hit it well in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big thumbs up for me. Like I said, it came close to pick of the week, but yeah, I can't recommend this one enough.
Okay. Okay, so speaking of sad and sweet, let's go to Howard the Duck number 11, the final issue, Howard's End. So when last we left our intrepid hero, when last we left our intrepid hero, he was. There we go. Okay, go to browse pages. He was stabbed and dying and nearly dead. In fact, I believe he theoretically was dead. You see, Tara is holding him, very sad, and then Aunt May is hurting, and Biggs says, "Who will feed Biggs now?" Tara turns into a robo duck to go take out her vengeance against the Sparkitects who had been messing with their lives, if you recall. And then Chip, who is the Sparkitect, who's sort of the leader of all this, he remembers they have the little bit of Scout that Scout gave to Howard so that he could call her. And Chip uses it to turn into a power cosmically enhanced person. We see, I believe his name is Joe, JHO, because of course they're named after the creators of the Howard the Duck book. As he needs to get to his terminal at the timely zone. Basically, we see that Mojo gets arrested by Tara. Mojo's trying to looks for Major Demo to help him, but Major Demo says, "Well, I've got good news and bad news, Mojo. Bad news is you're under arrest. The good news is prison shows are hot this year." So Mojo's going to prison, which hopefully that comes back later. Iron Punisher is about to eat Spider-Man when he sees Biggs the cat and falls very much in love with the idea of cats and starts petting the cat. Aunt May is very sad about Howard dying, but then Joe gets to a terminal where he can do the Sparkitect thing. They have this big riot over creators' rights, and just as Alex is about to take Joe away, he pushes the execute button, which just as Howard is ascending into the light, he is pulled back by Doctor Strange, who just happened to be walking past at that moment. Get a nice team up with Doctor Strange. They fight Chip, who is now cosmically empowered. Battle. Scout comes back, takes the power cosmic back from him, much in the way that The Silver Surfer had done to Scout earlier. Howard says his catchphrase, case closed, and punches out Chip. Then the XL of the Sparkitex comes to basically say, arrest these guys because you're never supposed to profit from your own creativity, is the running gag in this. They promise to Howard that for what they've done, for what they put him through, they're going to give him one wish. And what is his wish? He wants. There's actually. Let me go back to this. There's a great bit there where, when the Sparkitects are trying to explain to them, how their lives are manipulated, and that was back with Chip, and he says, "Well, are you trying to tell me that you're the ones that made me act like a doofus in front of Howard the whole time?" And he says, "No, actually, it takes a team of Sparkitects to keep you from acting like a doofus all the time. That was just your normal idiocy." So I love the hate for Peter Parker. No, Otto. They promise Howard they're not going to interfere in his life, but then as Axel is flying away, he says, "Are you kidding? This moved him up from a D list to a C list. We're definitely going to be doing more with Howard. Don't worry." But Howard's wish was that Beverly would in 3 months' time, Beverly would pass her test, get her veterinary clinic opened, and then he calls her up to say he sprained his wing. Aw, it was very sweet. It's a good book. It was a great way to end this Howard the Duck series. I did give it 5 stars. I did love it. It was a very close for my pick of the week too. I mean, this could have been my pick of the week. It probably at some point was my pick of the week when I'm debating everything. Honestly, this was a great book. I mean, for a finale, between the end of Howard and the beginning of Great Lakes Event, it's just a really great. What do you got, Phil?
I will go to Daredevil number 12.
Yay, Daredevil.
You said you read this one?
I did read this one.
It's interesting because, Daredevil, where it left off last issue, he confronts this serial killer who the papers have been calling Vincent Van Gogh, who appears
not like that.
He appears to be some kind of superhuman because when Daredevil throws his billy club at his face, he catches it and breaks the billy club in half.
Yeah, well, they say that he's like absorbing all the sensory information around him, which makes him. It's like one of these. Oh, he's the perfect villain for this character because this character has heightened sentences, but this guy dampens all senses. So, it's very good. Although, yeah. Well, you say what you thought of it.
So then he gets away from Daredevil, and then Matt comes back down and discovers the Inhumans have taken over the crime scene, including Frank McGee, the head of Atalan Security, who used to work for the NYPD.
Yeah, and I just every time someone talks to Mr. Jack Frank,
I knew it.
I'm just waiting for someone to say, "Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You would not like me when I was angry." Amadeus Cho has to say that at some point when he confronts the Inhumans.
I thought you were going to have somebody come up to Frank. You wanted someone to go up to Frank and say, "Hey, how's your Uncle Jack?"
Oh no. That'd be a little too on the news. Anyway,
so Frank uses his Inhuman power to sweep the crime scene for evidence, but Matt asks him for the data, and he tells him no. So as Daredevil, he goes to ask Medusa, which gets him into a fight with Karnak.
Mm-hmm.
And he even says, "I have to take out Karnak before he figures out my weakness. He figures out my weakness that I can't see."
Mm-hmm. Except Karnak doesn't quite figure it out because he realizes that he's blind, but not that he has radar sense. Bum, bum, bum.
but Medusa refuses to give Daredevil the information, and Mr. McGee tells Daredevil that's because Medusa wants to show all the Inhumans out in the world that she can protect them all. So
Yeah.
she wants them to bring the killer in.
Yeah. So, but now here's my question to you. Okay. Do you think Jack McGee or Frank McGee is acting on his own when he says to Daredevil that he's going to feed the information to Matt Murdock, or do you think that Medusa told him that he can, but that officially they can't?
I don't know. I had that same thought, but I'm like, that would. But Medusa still wants someone to. She still wants to bring the killer. I still think she wants to show the Inhumans she can keep him safe. So I don't know if Medusa would do that. But what if it's one of the inner circle?
Yeah.
What if Karnak threw the fight?
Maybe. He knows the weaknesses, and the weakness in Medusa's plan might be that they need the NYPD's feet on the ground,
Yeah, but I do like though that they mentioned that Daredevil and Karnak knew each other from before, because it was either the late 80s or early 90s. Gorgon and Karnak were in Daredevil for like an arc or two.
Oh.
They have eventually them and a couple other people were taken to Mephisto's realm.
Oh, yeah. Well, now that's an interesting idea. That now Karnak sees, of course, the flaws in things. Mm-hmm. Now, did Karnak know Daredevil's secret identity?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say, because he would know that he used to know that now he doesn't know, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to. I know he didn't know his name. I'm trying to remember. I don't think he knew he was blind.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
okay.
But yeah, but then the killer shows up in the courtroom at the end because Blind Spot calls Daredevil. But no, it's a good issue. I've been hulked that up. But what is this, issue 12, and we still don't know how he thinks he wiped the world's memories of his identity. Give us that already.
Yeah. I have no idea.
But yeah, it's a good issue. Thumbs up, and I guess I'll go to my last one on my own. Yeah. The Clone Conspiracy #1, my pick of the week.
This was a good one. Mm-hmm. A lot of theories, a lot of conspiracies in this.
Oh yeah, it opens up at Jay Jameson's funeral because he died because Peter's stubborn.
Because Peter is bad at his job.
But yeah, there's a lot in here. I'm sure you'd like because he's Peter's talking to Anna Marie. He spends most of the issue with Anna Marie. He tells her everything that's going down. He confides in her since she knows he's Spider-Man. Then they go to check on his employee who went through the New You treatment, and his wife says they took him away.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
he forgot to take his medication.
Who's that shadowy figure outside the house, Charlie?
Oh. Who is that shadowy figure outside the house?
I don't know. They don't say.
Dun dun dun.
But yeah. So then later on, Peter Spider-Man goes to San Francisco to break into New You's headquarters, and he finds his employee Jerry. They're rebuilding. They're rebuilding his whole body. And he's like, he can't be alive in there. But then he sees his eyes floating in there. And he's like, oh, he's still alive.
Well, that was actually were they rebuilding him, or were they just sort of maintaining him in that nervous system state and trying to keep him alive? I guess it's possible they were rebuilding him. I just wasn't sure there.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but then a Miles Warren clone comes in. He calls security. Then the Rhino and the new Electro come in.
Now, you know what I thought was very fascinating about that? Was he sees the Warren clone, he goes, Warren, I knew you were behind this. And it started to make me wonder whether or not the guy under the mask really is Miles Warren.
That's what I told you. I'm like, he hasn't taken his mask off once yet.
Yeah. And it's like, who is that masked man? And someone who did not like Miles Warren would explain why all the Miles Warren clones are his, servants,
Maybe a clone.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Not a clone of him, but maybe like a spider clone or somebody he mistreated.
Yeah. Well, it could be Kane. It could be Because Kane actually didn't Kane. Do we know what happened to Kane after the Spider-Verse? I know he came back from the dead, but did he join up with the Web Warriors?
I'm not reading that book, but no, it was. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't seen him anywhere else since. Yeah, he kind of came back at the end of that and kind of crawled away. But
Yeah. So,
and who knows?
And there's someone who would certainly have a real grudge against Miles, and maybe a lot of other people too. Yeah, lot of interesting possibilities.
Yeah. So then Peter takes down the Rhino and Electro because I love that part. He says, the nice thing about a new Electro, you don't know all the old tricks, and as he blasts them with water.
Yeah. Classic.
So Peter goes into another room and he finds Gwen and he thinks, oh, she has to be a clone. But then he's like, wait a minute, all the clones set off my spider sense. She's not setting off my spider sense. But he doesn't get to think about that too long, Charlie, because who shows up?
The Superior Auto.
Do you think that's the same one who was the Superior Spider-Man, or did the Jackal grow his?
Well, based on what we see in the backup story, I think that is the body, the reanimated body of Otto, which means that's Peter Parker's brain inside. And of course, Peter Parker would have a reason to go against Spider-Man because he would think that's Otto inside his body. Because and for what it's worth, Peter's going to say, "No way, I could build a multinational corporation." It has to be Otto. I got no head for business. And of course, what we did see is that yes, it was Otto. It was all Otto taking care of
but
Doofus Parker's life, making it work.
Yeah, but
Parker.
But the backup story, it's back when the Green Goblin supposedly killed Gwen Stacy, and the part I like about this is like it's they all thought she was passed out when she died, so she went to her grave never knowing Peter was Spider-Man. But here we see she overheard them and she figured out Peter was Spider-Man.
Yeah, she was just sort of in a paralytic state.
And then the Jackal brings her back.
Yes, from that moment, which is how we think that if that is Otto, from Otto's stolen body, then that's Otto with Peter's brain written over top of it. Now, what's interesting in all of this, and again, it is this idea that when they come back, we don't see the guy's face. And this I thought was interesting, is he's not creeping on Gwen Stacy.
Exactly.
He's asking her to help him to be a better person. And I'm like, you know who I actually think might be in there?
Who?
I think that might be Osborn.
Maybe.
Osborn is a scientific genius. He certainly would have contempt for everybody involved. And because he's been cured of his goblin madness, he may actually want to do good. And taking over the Jackal's persona allows him to hide his identity while at the same time, rebuild his status, I mean, I know there was something going on with Osborn at the start of this arc, but did we ever actually see Osborn in that? We saw the guy with his face wrapped in bandages as Osborn, right?
Yeah.
But then why was his face wrapped in bandages if not just to alter how he appeared?
And maybe it is Osborn, but maybe he's had work done. Maybe he doesn't look like Norman Osborn anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's the question.
But maybe I'm reading too much into it. But yeah, I'm thinking it's not Miles Warren because the original Jackal, because one, yeah, he's not taking the mask off, and two, I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but he's wearing a red suit. The Jackal's always been in green.
Yeah, of course. So was Osborn. Although that could also be his way of breaking away from the green of the Green Goblin. Well, that's an interesting. That's an interesting thing that they touched on in the old Future Foundation books, which is that the primary colors are heroes, and which is red, blue, yellow. And the secondary colors, purple, green, and orange, are usually villains. So we do have them in red. That would suggest that this is actually someone who is or was a hero,
Hmm.
or someone who sees himself as a hero. So that could be Osborn reimagining himself the hero of his own story, or, as we said, that could be Kane.
Or you said
Kane,
the other day Ben Rowley.
yeah, Ben Riley's a real possibility too. I don't know how Ben Riley got back. And I don't know exactly. See, here's what I'll say: the more I think, my money's on is really leaning towards Kane right now,
Mm-hmm.
just because I'm looking at everything he's doing. You have this guy. He's sort of he's come back from the dead, and he is approaching the question of Miles Warren in his own way. He does want to do good, and he has this relationship with Gwen Stacy, though it's not a personal relationship, but he knows that she's a good person, and he knows that he can have her keep him on the straight and narrow as he's trying to do this. And he's being, all the power, none of the responsibility, as the old tagline was for Kane when Kane had a solo book. So right now I'm really leaning towards Kane.
Yeah, it sounds like a good.
And was the Scarlet Spider, and of course, mostly red costume.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Yes, mark him, Charlie. Mark him.
Mark my words.
Yes,
is Kane.
Like I said, big thumbs up. It was my pick of the week.
And for what it's worth, since Kane had all the scars on his face, one more reason: never take off the mask. And they also, now that I'm thinking back, when they do show his face, you see he has that stubble.
Mm-hmm.
Kane always had the stubble.
Ah.
Yeah, that might be Kane. Yeah, definitely words have been marked. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
On to my last book of my own.
Yes.
It's Gwenpool. It's Gwenpool. She really wants to be your friend. So we open up with Gwenpool. She is. It's very so. Basically, we have these squid aliens that are attacking. She basically dressed a pig in her costume because she says that's a thing, right? Aliens can't differentiate between creatures from Earth. That's the But she says, these might be creatures that were actually just created just for me. So it's very interesting when she's talking to Batroc and says, and of course this from comic books. And he's like, yeah, I do. She goes to find the person who is their financier, and he is this guy who basically he is old enough to remember a time before the sky was filled with superheroes, and he wants the world to be normal again. And it's kind of cute because he is, saying to, Gwenpool, could you imagine a world without superheroes? And she's like, yeah, I can do that indeed. Sounds kind of boring. Cecil's there, but he gets asked to leave by the financier because he did not invite any ghosts into his house. Yeah, I'm trying to see who the guy's name is because he seems like the kind of guy that probably has some kind of backstory of interest here. Yeah, I don't think they give us his name. But basically, we find out that the reason he one of the reasons he likes the MODOK team is because they're all just normal humans. None of them are really super powered. Even the horrible eye is just a decent girl who accidentally put on a magical artifact on her head. Uh, okay, wait. Sorry, having a hard time loading. And what we find out eventually is that the financier is going to keep on funding the Modoc organization. He's glad that Modoc's gone because he never really liked working with him, and he's glad that Gwenpool, a normal human being, is in charge of it now. And then we find out that the Theludians now know Gwen's secret identity because they went to the cops and have taken over the police station. Very, thumbs up. I really enjoyed the book. It's funny. It's funny. It's sweet. It's enjoyable. It hits my nerd spot, as I like to say. Okay, now let's get to the two books we both read. You want to do Thunderbolts or Avengers first?
Let's start with Thunderbolts number 6.
Okay. See, I really like this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. Do you want to do the back?
Sure. Basically, with Bucky captured, the rest of the team's back at their headquarters in what is it, the Arctic?
Yeah.
And they're running out of supplies, so Atlas and Mock. What is he, Mock now?
You gotta open it up.
What?
Nothing. Sorry, I thought I was on mute.
That's okay. Yeah, so I forget what number is Mock on Mock. I forget, but Atlas and
he's Mach 10.
Mach 10. Mach okay. 10. So Atlas and Mach 10, they want to go get beer and other supplies, and everyone, Fixer's like, I don't think that's a good idea, and Moonstone's like, no, go, because as they show later, Fixer and Moonstone have their own plans for Kobik.
And does that work out well for them?
Oh no, Charlie, it does not. They're trying to siphon off her energy and create another a different cube, and no, it did not. Kobik said no. Hey, that hurts.
Yeah.
But basically, Mach 10 and Atlas go into town,
and what did she do to all of Fixer's tech, including the stealth mode module that they took with them?
Wait, who does? What stealth? Wait, who does what with the stealth mode module? Charlie.
When Mach 10 and Atlas leave, Fixer gives them this little nodule.
Oh yeah.
That hides them from the satellite sweeps.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, when
Kobik
takes Kobik, yeah, she basically makes all of his tech sort of pixelate out, and that includes the tech they took with them. So that's how Shield finds them.
Yeah, and what did you think about Kobik saying she pulled Fixer out of the time loop he put himself in Thunderbolts?
Awesome. Mm-hmm. That was the best part of it. Because it was something that I noticed when they first said, wait, how is Fixer here? Wasn't he in a time loop? What was going on with that? And then I sort of forgot about it, as you do. And then all of a sudden, oh no. Just as we suspected, it turns out that he was pulled from the time loop. And that was just amazing. Because of course that was the Thunderbolts Lost in Time was really one of my favorite arcs, and it also explains why he's 90s Fixer, bald Fixer from the later era. I mean, it just really because there was just a lot of stuff that was hanging out there that you didn't really question per se, but then they sort of said, oh yeah, if you had noticed, this is all the stuff that we've been playing since the first issue. And so that's really awesome.
But all a bunch of stuff you keep blaming Franklin for. What if Kobik's just reading people's minds and saying, oh yeah, this person wants this. Hey, Peter Parker would like to be rich and famous.
Yeah, well, that might be it too. Of course, we don't know exactly. When we don't know exactly who Kobik is,
Mm-hmm.
we know that she's a cosmic cube, but at one point, maybe all the Beyonders were. We don't
Mm-hmm.
really know everything about that. Although, man, can I ask you, did you find it real creepy when Atlas and Mach 10 do get back to the base after they lose the shield detachment?
Oh yeah, and what Fixer Moonstone are like, yeah, we're just playing with yeah, Kobik basically.
Now, here's what I want to ask you: do you think that Kobik did like a total mind wipe on them? Or are they just going along to get along now?
I'm thinking Kobik did something to them to make them more agreeable. Yeah, that's what makes that scene really creepy. It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
See, yeah, well, it's like the not knowing to me. It's like I have no idea what that is. And then we see that when they do turn on the shield scanners, and what does Fixer see?
Bucky captured.
Yep, he sure was.
Yep, and it looks like we're gonna get more on that next issue, and we're gonna get Songbird. That's the one. That's one of the things that's been missing from this book is Songbird. I think
Yeah,
get her in here, and then and we also get an appearance, I guess, by Captain Hydra.
yeah. Yeah, that was actually one of the weirdest parts about the Luke Cage thing and jumping in there was having Songbird in that mix.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really wasn't quite sure how she wound up there because she's in AIM Avengers and I don't know.
Well,
Anyway,
last issue, Cage called her for help because they had worked together before in the Thunderbolts.
well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess something like that, but to me, it just struck me as a little weird because I didn't. I mean, I guess I can see that. That makes sense. It just kind of, I don't know, it struck me as weird. And that brings us to our last book on our own, or our last book together, Phil. Uncanny Avengers.
Yep, number 15.
Number 15. What'd you think, Phil?
I liked it. I like how basically Deadpool and Rogue pulled everyone together and basically said, "Yes, Steve Rogers said we're done, but we're not done. We're
Yeah.
we're still waiting
Well,
for the Avengers."
I really like the nice little, you know, interaction between Rogue and Deadpool. I thought that was actually really sweet.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of friendship growing there.
Oh yeah, because I mean they were even interacting in an issue of Deadpool too. Yeah, I think there's a there's real friendship growing there.
Mhm. And so they're in the bombed out husk of the building, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And then who should show up?
Elektra. Oh wait.
Brother Voodoo.
Yes.
And basically, because he doesn't know that the team disbanded while he was doing his shtick, and nobody knows that at the moment except for
Rogue and Deadpool.
Rogue, yeah. And when they all get together, we've got Quicksilver, Wasp, Synapse, and Human Torch, and there is she asks, well, where's Captain America? Where's Cable? It's like, yeah. And Human Torch was saying, yeah, I didn't quite understand this email I got. And of course, Deadpool says, yeah, I think you should know how the elderly are bad at email. Brother Voodoo opens a magic door to take them to where they need to be, which it happens to be Japan, because they have found out that the Hand is trying to resurrect David Banner.
Bruce Banner.
Bruce Banner, yeah, that one. Elektra helps him. Elektra tells, Johnny to burn down the building. He's like, no way, heroes don't do that. And of course, Deadpool throws a fire grenade into the building. They battle the Hand. Human Torch mentions how he never really fought a lot of ninjas in the Fantastic Four. We see, Synapse basically turning off all of their nervous systems, and then what gets them to talk is Brother Voodoo basically gives them a karmic bomb. And they're like, is that like waterboarding? Is that like mystical waterboarding? And he says, trust me, they're experiencing nothing that they have not caused to others. He gives them the location where the Hulk ceremony is going on. They come across what they think is the Hulk ceremony. They defeat the Hand, but this was simply a distraction. And the real Hulk in samurai armor comes bursting through the door. We ain't that lucky, says Rogue. Thumbs up. It was a good book. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, the Rogue Deadpool friendship is really what sells it for me, and I love that.
Oh yeah, are these two going to be co-leaders?
Well, I think they're going to be good buddies going forward, and I like that. I hope they don't make it into a romantic relationship.
Yeah, no.
I actually like the idea of the platonic, friends relationship between men and women. Kind of a cool thing that you don't see enough of in comic books.
Well, Deadpool is technically married too.
Well, yeah, but they have a very open relationship.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and that's all of our books this week, Phil. Hey, under an hour and a half. Woo!
Woo! All right. If anyone wants to talk to us, we love interacting with our fans. If you want to recommend any books we should be reading that we're not, you can always email us, marvelroundup@gmail.com. On Facebook, we're All New Marvel Roundup. Twitter is @Marvel_Roundup, and our Instagram is Marvel Roundup. And you can always discuss anything Marvel or DC with me on nightwingpdp@gmail.com. On Twitter, I am @nightwingpdp. And check out the Southgate Media Group channel on YouTube. Rob Southgate and I have been doing the Mighty Nuff Said Reading Club. We've been reviewing newer books, older books. Check it out. It's all pretty good stuff. And Charlie, where can people find you?
Well, if you'd like to write to me in that old-fashioned email way, the way our mas and pas once did long, long ago, do so at superconnectivityblog, all one word. That's superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. And if you'd like to tweet at me or tweet along with me or tweet my twits, do so at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle for quality. And of course, listen for me on this podcasts throughout the Nuff Said Network, podcasts on the Legend of DC Network. What? Yes, here on Southgate Media, the Legends of DC, where you can hear Legends of Today with me and Zachary Hare talking about Legends of Tomorrow. And, of course, also look out for the 80s Reboot Overdrive for all your 80s nostalgia. And listen to me on the Gamma Cast, where I talk about the Incredible Hulk with my new co-host, Maz Manzoor. Okay, and that's all my data, Phil.
All right. Come back next week. There's a lot of books. I know I got more books than I got. I'm getting more books than I got this week. Yeah, so come join us. We'll help you wade through the good and the bad. But until then, just be careful. Watch out. No one tries to kill you off and replace you with a clone or whatever those are.
Dun, dun, dun.
Good night.
Good night.